Hey, this is John Marchese from DataOps.live. I'm the Executive Vice President of Strategic Business Alliances and Channels, and happy to be here today.
Hey everybody, I'm Keith Belanger. I lead the data and data governance practice at Eon Collective, and happy to be joining you today, John.
Same here. And, normally, Keith, I dress for the occasion, depending on who I'm speaking to. And by accident, I'm wearing my Jets jersey. So I apologize if that's
Yeah,
distressing in any
I'm
way.
I'm sure you're apologetic. I do have some red on, but yeah, not quite sporting the Patriots jerseys right now. However, this coming weekend we do have a big game, so
Yes,
maybe we'll have
I
some
do
bragging
recall.
rights for next. We'll have some good conversations going into next week. That being said, I'm happy to change the conversation here, and maybe get to some little bit of business. But as we're going into the data governance conference with Collibra next week, oftentimes many might think about. I know I've thought about it. Is well, how does data ops in general play a role in data governance? I don't think it's what most organizations would think about in terms of data governance, but where does data ops fit in that space?
It's actually, very interesting to me because, coming from that background, when I got to data ops, I too was like, this is a separated concept. It's not, I don't think there's much alignment. And kind of as I've gone through it and learned and lived a bit more, there's actually a lot of similarity. And as data governance, when you boil it down, first of all, is about people, process, and tech,
Right.
right? You don't go buy a piece of software and have data governance,
Absolutely.
right?
Yep. Absolutely. Yep.
Um, so once you firmly understand that piece of it, then you start looking at, okay, what is it really about? You have to have the people alignment, you have to have the processes in place, and then leveraging a tool certainly helps.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, if you think of it in that same context, data ops is exactly the same. So there's a parallel immediately,
Yep.
right? So think about, we're applying at DataOps.live, where we have a platform, of course, that helps Snowflake users, developers have great efficiencies to develop, data products.
Yep.
Now, when you're sitting there trying to deploy a data mesh at scale and you're deploying data products across a large enterprise, you have to have some governance in place in order to make this work because you
Absolutely.
just can't create an efficiency and say go at it,
Right.
right? You need
Yep.
to have some guardrails in there.
Yep.
So that's part of what the platform affords is kind of a standardization, if you will, of hey, developer, here's all of the data products, the ETL, the data lineage, the data quality, the data cataloging, the data protection,
Yep.
everything that you would use to build your data product is now within this data ops construct.
Yep.
So kind of like 30 to 40% of the work of getting the environment set up, figuring out what versions of stuff should I use, and all that is kind of now applied and provided to you.
Yeah.
So that,
I
yeah,
yeah. I mean, I often when working with a lot of with clients, I work a lot with the people process part a lot,
right.
right? Really make yeah, we'll introduce the technology into it, but it's a lot of stuff we focus. Term I use a lot is, data governance as you go. Everybody has a role from e- whether you're creating pipelines, creating your security, or even creating reports. Everybody's contributing to governance, right?
That's right.
And then, oftentimes people will think about, well, it's just definitions and glossaries and dictionaries, right? But lineage is a huge aspect of it, right? And
Hmm.
understanding, how is the data flowing in here? Where's it going next? What's doing what? What's being orchestrated in between there? What security parameters are being applied and stuff like that? So, you know, maybe years ago, it was just like knowing what data was in the thing, but you know, there's so much now trying to understand the entire ecosystem and how it's all interconnected and the impact. So I really, you know, am interested in seeing how different organizations are applying data governance in, especially like with you guys in data ops and how that integrates in with Collibra, right?
Right. Well, you hit two things there that sparked an instant reaction to me. So you brought up lineage as an example, um, and then the fact that people need to exercise. You need people to exercise governance. You need them to
Right.
contribute in order to make it work.
Yep.
Um, so one of the challenges that obviously has, been prevalent in the market is if you're in an organization that's not incentivized to keep up with the governance, it can be challenging.
Yep.
So you start to see automation. So the automation is key
Yep.
of making sure that the metadata and all of the other things that are required in order to keep, let's say, a data catalog up to date, or to keep the governance process and procedures up to date. The automation is key, and it's another thing that DataOps provides.
Right.
Okay, so again, automation and
Automation.
orchestration ops. And now on the orchestration side, as we're looking at all the different components that make up the data pipelines for these data products, we're orchestrating that in the platform. So we're turning
Yep.
on and off the ETL. We're turning
Yep.
on and off the data quality and the lineage of all the information going from one process to the next within the pipeline. It's
Yep.
all recorded by us, and kind of it's like a rich operational telemetry, if you will,
Right.
of metadata
Yep.
that now we can share with a catalog, we can share with a SIM, we can share with who knows what, a data
Yep.
quality tool,
Yep.
and now that again is injected metadata from a technology standpoint without having to have people keep up with it.
Yep. I agree. The automation. A lot of organizations, you might have a person who is really good at maybe keeping something up to date, but we all see that that's great for a month and then it tends to tail off, and then before you know it, it's stale, right? And then that's not doing any good to your organization and your business. And having that automation, especially nowadays, automation on everything is starting to get more and more, right? This way you can it's managing that cost. People want to have information sooner than later, right? You got to be at a, I like saying it, you got to go at the speed of business. If you're not going at the speed of business,
Right.
right, there's going to be money involved. So no,
Yeah.
I think this is you know this is fantastic. Like I said, my experience in the past has been a lot with like looking at the data in of itself, right, in terms of the governance. But now really starting to add that operational, like the orchestration and the lineage and other that part of it into the governance. Now you're really starting to get that entire ecosystem picture, right, that people are looking for.
Exactly. And it's not just a cult type perspective. The reality is, if you do governance well, you can run faster.
Yep.
I mean, there's no doubt about it.
Yep.
It's just doing governance well, right? And when we look at a successful, so you brought up Calibra and the conference next week, of course. Um, when you look at a joint customer like Roche,
Yep.
it's just incredible what they've done with data ops. It's very publicly known, so I'm not going to go through all the stats. But in general, in much less than a year's time, they brought in like 15 to 20 integration partners, new partners to participate in their pipelines.
Yep.
They've educated 40 different groups globally within the company, um, to take on data ops and launch it with over 2,600 developers
Yep.
in less than a year.
Yep.
And now they're creating, instead of creating new applications in 6 months and delivering once a quarter, they're delivering many times a day
Yep.
and 120 plus new or updated apps a month, data
Right.
products a month.
Right. Yep.
Now, if you're doing that, imagine if you don't have governance in place. First of all, the reason that they're running so quickly is because of what I said before, the standardization of the templating and the getting rid of all of the basic stitching of all these pipelines together. The data ops platform itself provides speed. But then as you create the data products at scale, how do you make them available to the organization? How do you protect them if they have PII or other
Right.
sensitive information? How do you This is another governance integration area
Yep.
where in this particular case, we're handing that off automatically as part of the process that every data product that's created gets put into Collibra
Yep.
instantly. Now it could be found. All of the metadata describing the application, highlighting what data it's touching, who the what the value proposition is, who it's you should be used for, etc. That's all attached into the record as well. And now every time that there's a change, all of that updated information is put into the catalog.
Yep.
So again, from a governance perspective, there you can imagine um, just the organization of all the new products, where to find them, what they're about, when they get changed, is there sensitive information, et cetera, et cetera. That's
Right.
all a governance function.
Yeah, and I know you guys are, core like with Snowflake, but what I also like are the other ancillary solutions, right, that are also partners with Snowflake that are you guys are tying into that. So now as an organization grows the ecosystem, you're not having to worry about, well, how do I integrate all of these other components as well, right? So
That's
it's,
right.
you're even like we've worked on like other things that are coming up and introduced, for example, Vault Speed, right? To you guys and sitting there saying, yes, let's plug those in. And now if we're using a data ops, we've just plugged in another solution into the entire governance ecosystem relatively um, simple, right? From a simple
Yeah,
from our perspective, from an implementation with an organization.
that's absolutely right. So I mean, the reality is, I won't give a specific example because I don't want to overstep my skis, but I have seen instances where, in other words, you could swap out one vendor's product for another in a particular function, and the application will still run,
Right.
as an
Right.
example.
Yep.
Um, so yeah, so we provide, it's one of the things that I like about the DataOps.live platform is that we're not competing with the ecosystem in any way. It's one of my favorite jobs I've ever had because I don't have to have that hanging over my head. We're embracing what's already there and integrating into it, or allowing you to create a new stack, and we're not overlapping with any of the functions,
Right.
other than the orchestration. So that's great. And then you know I also think that there's a whole future opportunity.
Yep.
But like as we go to the conference, what I'm interested to hear about, you know if you have an active governance platform in place already, then how can data ops leverage what you have in place? So when there's a new request for an application within the company, someone has a need, to me, that should come in from the data governance platform. That should come in from Jira or ServiceNow or Collibra, orchestrating that workflow and basically bringing it to the developer and saying, "This is what I need. Can you deliver this to
Yep.
me?" So that's another future. And then, of course, we were at Monte Carlo Impact event yesterday. Listening about all the advances in observability and data quality. I think there's lots of great things to come there too, where again we can share this operational metadata and give it to partners that can, maybe, look through it from a data quality standpoint, do AI against it, look for anomalies, and maybe start to get ahead of, oh, there's something that's going to fail here, or there's something that's changed, or the data pipeline is not behaving as it used to. Send a message to the business that
Right.
there's something to be concerned about. Because again, data ops is focused on developers and tech people.
Yep.
Calibra and data governance is typically consumed right by the business,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So I kind of that's like my last but not least link,
Yep.
is that we can't be great at trying to serve a business from a data ops platform other than
Right.
making our developers great.
Yep.
And they can't be great, trying to serve all the needs of the technical people. But
Yep.
together, I think we have the components that could serve one another.
Yeah. I mean, I when I work with organizations with governance, right, I many times going in there, you find that the IT and the business are far apart, right? And we got to start bringing them. And I start forcing meetings and sessions where we're bringing the people together, because it does take both sides, right?
Yep.
You got to understand the business objectives. You got to be able to service the business, but at the same time, IT needs to be able to sort that. So it's, you got to start bringing those two worlds together. And it's same thing from a metadata, right? Now here's the business data and here's the operational data, and now we have business and IT governance, right? Working
Exactly.
in together. So I look forward, John, to next week and hearing more from people and yourself, and meeting up, and hopefully saying that the Patriots beat the Jets.
I think it's
cross
been
our fingers.
15 times in a row, so you have a good
Yeah,
chance. But
yeah. But I mean, I would ask people, if you're hearing this, put some notes in the comments, reach out to John or myself. If you're going to be out there, I'm happy to talk to people. What's going on with your organization? What's going on? I'm sure John with data ops.
yeah,
That would be fantastic. But um,
absolutely. I
you
look
know,
forward to it. Yeah, and the same with me. I'd love to dive deeper on these subjects. We're going to be doing a presentation as well on Thursday morning at 9:45. Uh, JJ and myself, but JJ primarily is a Collibra Ranger, so he has a lot of experience in governance, technically, and we're going to be talking about data products as first-class citizens and what that all means, and kind of the new data stack with Snowflake.
great.
So yeah, we can't wait to collaborate and hear more and talk more
Yep.
with everyone.
Excellent. And we'll have our some of our governance leads out there. Our CEO Gary Call will be out there. So looking forward to networking with people and hearing what's going on. And I think for many of us, it's getting back out there, in meeting and being in person with people. So looking forward to it. So
Great.
thanks for the conversation, John. I was great.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you for suggesting it, and I look forward to seeing you next week.
Yeah, me too. Thanks everybody. We'll see you next week.